Have you ever wondered why some people seem to build wealth effortlessly while others struggle paycheck to paycheck? It's not magic. It's not luck. It's not inheriting a trust fund. The truth is, it comes down to one simple concept that anyone can use no matter your income: the power of compounding. Let me break it down for you. Compounding is essentially money making more money, not just once but over and over again. Imagine planting a tiny seed today. You water it. You give it sunlight. And over time, that seed doesn't just grow into a tree, it grows into a forest. That's exactly what compounding does for your money. The small amounts you save or invest now don't just sit there, they grow, and then the growth itself grows, creating a multiplying effect. Even someone like Warren Buffett, one of the richest investors in history, attributes the majority of his wealth not to some hidden trick or brilliant idea, but to this principle. In a 2016 interview, Buffett summed up his life in a single sentence: "My wealth came from compound interest." Think about that for a moment. One sentence, one principle, decades of consistent action. That's it. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Most people ignore the math. They focus on earning more money, rather than letting their money earn more money for them. The top 1% know that building wealth isn't about making huge leaps, it's about making consistent, small moves that multiply over time. And that's exactly what the 60%, 30%, 10% system is all about. So, what is the 60%, 30%, 10% rule, and why does it matter? It's a simple framework for how you manage your money so that compounding can work its magic. 60% for essentials. This is your rent, groceries, utilities, and all the basic things you need to live. Think of it as your foundation. If your foundation is solid, everything you build on top will be stronger. 30% for growth. This is the fun part. This portion goes into investments, savings, and other vehicles where your money can actually start working for you. Stocks, ETFs, retirement accounts, anything where compound interest can kick in over the years. 10% for freedom. Yes, you read that right. A little goes a long way. This is for your hobbies, your small splurges, your personal growth. Treat yourself, but smartly, because this keeps you motivated and consistent over the long haul. Here's the genius part. When you follow the system consistently, even if you start with a small amount, compounding does the heavy lifting for you. Let me give you an example. Imagine you save just $100 a month and invest it at an average return of 7% per year. After 10 years, you won't just have $12,000, you'll have over $18,000. After 20 years, that grows to over $50,000. And after 30 years, you're looking at over $120,000. That's the compounding effect. Small, consistent actions multiplied over time. The problem is, most people never stick with it. They either spend everything, chase shiny new things, or give up because the results aren't instant. But here's the thing, time is your friend. The earlier you start, the more time compounding has to work. Even if you start late, it's better than never starting at all. And this is exactly why following the 60%, 30%, 10% rule matters. It's not just a budgeting system, it's a strategy for compounding your financial freedom. It forces you to separate your money into categories that allow you to live comfortably today while still investing in tomorrow. Now, I want you to imagine something for a second. Picture yourself 10 years from now. You've been following this rule. Your investments have been growing, your debt is under control, and you've been making smart choices consistently. One day you check your accounts and you see your money has grown on autopilot. That feeling, the relief, the excitement, the confidence, that's the power of compounding. And it all starts with a single decision: to follow the system consistently. But before you roll your eyes and say, yeah, I know, save money, invest money, let me tell you why this isn't just another budgeting lecture. This is the exact approach used by people in the top 1%, not because they're smarter, but because they leverage simple rules consistently over time. You don't need a Harvard degree. You don't need insider tips. You just need a system and the discipline to stick with it. And here's a little secret. The 60%, 30%, 10% system isn't rigid. It's flexible. Life happens. You might need to adjust percentages here and there. But the principle remains: allocate wisely, invest consistently, and let time do the heavy lifting. This mindset, this strategy is what separates those who dream about wealth from those who... Now that you understand the power of compounding and the 60%, 30%, 10% rule, let's get real for a moment. Most people fail at building wealth not because they don't earn enough, but because they mismanage what they already have. Think about it. You could make $50,000 a year or $500,000 a year, but if you spend all of it or worse, spend more than you earn, compounding has no chance to work for you. The system doesn't care about your income, it cares about your consistency and discipline. Here's the harsh truth. Most people live in what I call the instant gratification trap. New phone? Buy it. Trendy sneakers, buy them. That coffee every day from a fancy cafe? Add it up over a year, that's thousands of dollars. And none of that is working for your future. It's all going out the door. But don't panic. This is where the 60%, 30%, 10% system becomes your best friend. By allocating your money into specific buckets, you force yourself to prioritize wealth creation without sacrificing your lifestyle entirely. Let's break it down further. The 60% essentials. This is your safety net. Your rent, bills, groceries, transportation, insurance, these are non-negotiable. The key here is to optimize, not eliminate. Maybe you can switch to a cheaper phone plan or cook at home more often. Small adjustments can free up money for your growth bucket without making life miserable. The 30% growth. Here's where the magic happens. Every dollar in this bucket isn't just sitting, it's working for you. Stocks, ETFs, index funds, retirement accounts, or even side businesses, all of these can grow over time thanks to compounding. And don't underestimate the psychological benefit. Once you see your money growing, it motivates you to save and invest even more. The 10% freedom. This bucket is often overlooked, but it's critical. Life isn't just about hoarding money, it's about living well too. This 10% allows you to spend on hobbies, experiences, or personal development. It's also a psychological tool. When you know you have money allocated for enjoyment, sticking to the 60/30/10 system feels less like a chore and more like a lifestyle. Now, let's talk about common mistakes that sabotage compounding. Procrastination. Waiting for the right time to start investing is the biggest trap. The earlier you start, even with tiny amounts, the more time compounding has to work. Overspending, impulse purchases, and lifestyle inflation are stealth wealth killers. If your expenses rise as your income rises, your growth bucket never grows. Inconsistency. Compounding requires regular contributions. Skipping months or investing sporadically drastically reduces your long-term returns. High-risk speculation. Chasing get-rich-quick schemes can wipe out your portfolio. Consistency and low to moderate risk investments win over time. Here's a simple example. Let's say you earn $3,000 a month. Following the 60%, 30%, 10% rule, $1,800 goes to essentials. $900 goes to growth. $300 goes to freedom. Even if your $900 growth bucket earns a modest 7% annual return, after 20 years, it could grow to well over $400,000 without you doing anything other than sticking to your plan. That's the multiplier effect of compounding. The critical lesson here is control what you can control. You can't control the stock market, the economy, or unexpected expenses. But you can control how you allocate your money, how consistently you invest, and how much you spend. That control is the real power behind wealth creation. Now, let's address a common misconception. I don't earn enough to invest. Here's the truth. It's not about how much you earn. It's about how much you save and invest consistently. Even $50 a month, if invested wisely over decades, grows surprisingly fast. The top 1% aren't smarter, they just start early and stay disciplined. Another tip: automate your growth bucket. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your investment accounts. That way you remove temptation, remove friction, and make compounding effortless. Your future self will thank you. And here's a little mindset shift that most people ignore. Stop thinking of saving as a sacrifice. Instead, see it as giving your money a job. Your money can work for you, grow over time, and eventually earn more than you ever could working alone. That's the essence of financial freedom. Finally, let's make this actionable. Review your monthly income and categorize it into the 60%, 30%, 10% buckets. Automate contributions to your growth bucket immediately. Track your expenses and cut unnecessary costs from the essentials bucket. Treat your freedom bucket as a reward. This keeps motivation high. Start today, no matter how small. Compounding waits for no one. By avoiding these mistakes and sticking to the 60%, 30%, 10% system, you're not just budgeting, you're building a machine for your money to grow. And the best part, unlike a job, this machine doesn't tire, doesn't ask for a raise, and doesn't take sick days. It works for you 24/7, quietly building your future. You know the 60%, 30%, 10% rule and how compounding works. You also understand why most people fail at building wealth, not because they don't earn enough, but because they mismanage what they have. Now let's talk about the fun part, making your 30% growth bucket truly work for you. This is where compounding doesn't just happen, it accelerates. But here's the catch: growth comes with choices. And not all choices are created equal. Some strategies can make your money soar, while others can make it disappear overnight. So how do the top 1% do it? Let's break it down. Invest in low-cost index funds. One of the simplest, most powerful strategies is investing in index funds or ETFs. These are baskets of stocks that track the overall market. Why are they so effective? Diversification. Your money isn't tied to one company that could fail. It's spread across hundreds of companies. Low fees. High fees eat into your returns. Index funds keep costs low so more of your money stays invested. Consistency. Historically, the stock market grows over time, even with ups and downs. Here's the magic. If you invest $500 a month into a broad index fund with an average annual return of 7% in 20 years, that's over $250,000. And that's without doing anything other than contributing consistently. That's compound interest at work, quietly multiplying your money while you live your life. Take advantage of retirement accounts. Retirement accounts like 401k, IRAs or Roth IRAs aren't just for old people, they're compounding machines. Here's why. Tax benefits. Contributions may be tax deductible or growth may be tax-free depending on the account type. Employer matches. If your employer matches contributions, that's free money, literally multiplying your investment immediately. Automatic growth. Money grows over decades and compounding does the heavy lifting. Even if retirement seems far away, the earlier you start, the bigger the compounding effect. Remember, a small contribution now can grow into a life-changing sum later. Avoid high-risk speculation. Here's the reality check. Chasing hot stocks or crypto pumps can wreck your growth bucket. Sure, some people get lucky, but the top 1% don't rely on luck, they rely on predictable, consistent growth. Think of it like planting a tree. You don't spray it with rocket fuel hoping it will grow overnight, you water it consistently and give it sunlight. Investing consistently in low-cost, diversified funds gives your money sunlight and water, while risky speculation is like tossing dynamite at the tree. You might get a fruit explosion, or you might just blow it up. Reinvest your earnings. Here's a key compounding hack. Never take your dividends or interest as cash. Reinvest them. Imagine you invest $1,000 in a fund that pays 5% annual dividends. If you take the dividends as cash, you get $50 a year. But if you reinvest that $50, the next year your money earns interest on $1,050, not just $1,000. This is interest on interest, the true power of compounding. Over decades, reinvesting can double or triple your wealth without adding a single extra dollar. Diversify beyond stocks. While stocks are the backbone of compounding growth, you can diversify into other growth vehicles. Bonds, lower risk than stocks, provide steady income. Real estate, rental income can add another layer of compounding. Side businesses or intellectual property. If done wisely, small side ventures can generate cash flow that gets reinvested. Diversification is key. You want steady growth, not roller coaster rides. Remember, the goal is long-term wealth, not short-term excitement. Automate everything. The top 1% automate their finances for one simple reason. Consistency beats discipline alone. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your growth bucket. Your investments, retirement contributions, and reinvestments should all happen without you thinking about it. That way you're not relying on willpower, your money is working for you automatically. Track and adjust. Even the best systems need occasional tweaks. Once a year, review your growth bucket. Are your investments performing as expected? Are your contributions consistent? Do you need to adjust for risk tolerance or life changes? Tracking your progress ensures you stay on course while letting compounding do its job. Small adjustments now prevent big mistakes later. Think long-term, not short-term. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is watching their accounts daily. If you obsess over short-term fluctuations, you'll panic and make emotional decisions. The top 1% ignore the daily noise. They think in years and decades, not days and months. Patience is critical. Compounding takes time, but the results are worth it. Remember, slow and steady wins the race. Actionable steps for your growth bucket. Here's what you should do starting today. Allocate 30% of your income into your growth bucket. Choose low-cost index funds or ETFs as your primary investment. Open a retirement account and maximize employer contributions. Reinvest all dividends and earnings. Diversify gradually: bonds, real estate, or side ventures. Automate everything. Review and adjust once per year. Commit to long-term thinking. Do this consistently and compounding does the heavy lifting. A small, disciplined start today can grow into life-changing wealth decades later. We've explored the power of compounding, why most people fail at building wealth, and how to make your growth bucket explode. Now, it's time to talk about the part that most people groan about, the 60% of your income that goes to essentials: bills, rent, groceries, and other necessary expenses. Here's the thing. Optimizing essentials doesn't mean living like a monk or cutting out everything fun. It's about being strategic. Small, intentional changes can free up more money to put into your growth bucket, which is where compounding really does its magic. The first step is simple. Know where your money is going. Most people have no idea how much they spend on small recurring expenses like subscriptions, daily coffee runs, or food delivery. Go through your bank statements for the last 3 months and categorize everything. Rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, subscriptions, and miscellaneous spending. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Could I find a cheaper alternative? Could I combine services or cut back slightly? Even saving $50 to $100 a month might not seem huge, but over a year, that's $600 to $1,200 more going directly into your growth bucket. That's the power of optimization, small changes leading to a massive long-term impact. Housing is often the largest part of your essentials, so it makes sense to manage it carefully. Negotiating your rent or refinancing a mortgage can save you thousands over time. Many landlords are willing to discuss reasonable adjustments, and lower interest rates on mortgages can reduce monthly payments significantly. Downsizing your living space might feel like a sacrifice, but it can free up a substantial chunk of cash for investing. Some people even house hack by renting out a room or part of their home to generate extra income, and that money can go straight into the growth bucket. These strategic adjustments create more room for compounding to work its magic over time. Transportation is another expense that often eats up more money than we realize. Switching to public transport or ride-sharing, buying a used car instead of a new one, carpooling, or even biking when possible can all save hundreds per month. These small savings, when redirected to your growth bucket, can compound into significant wealth over the years. Food is essential, but it doesn't have to be a budget killer. Cooking at home, meal prepping, shopping smartly, and limiting restaurant meals can save hundreds per month without compromising nutrition or enjoyment. Small adjustments in grocery spending can be redirected into investments, which will grow over time thanks to compounding. Then there are subscriptions and recurring expenses that quietly drain your wallet. Many people have dozens of subscriptions they barely use: streaming services, apps, software, gym memberships. Take a hard look and cancel anything unnecessary or share plans where possible. Even $10 to $30 saved per month may seem minor, but over decades of compounding, it adds up to thousands of dollars. Utilities are another area where small, consistent changes make a difference. Switching to energy-efficient lighting and appliances, setting your thermostat strategically, and being mindful of water usage can shave a little off your monthly bills. These reductions might seem small, but each dollar you save is a dollar you can invest for growth, and over time, that grows exponentially. One of the biggest hidden wealth killers is lifestyle inflation. When your income rises, it's easy to increase spending proportionally or even more than your income grows. The top 1% do the opposite. As their income rises, they increase contributions to their growth bucket first while keeping essentials relatively stable. For example, if your income goes from $3,000 to $4,000 per month, instead of spending that extra $1,000 on lifestyle upgrades, you could direct $700 to investments and only $300 to essentials. Over decades, this approach compounds into significant wealth. Think of essentials optimization as creating a savings funnel. You identify wasteful spending, trim it wherever possible, and funnel that money into your growth bucket. Over time, this funnel widens as you continue to optimize, making more money available for compounding without even needing to earn more. Automation is key. Once you've figured out how much you actually need for essentials, set up automatic transfers so that 30% goes to your growth bucket and 10% to your freedom bucket. This way, your finances work for you automatically without relying on discipline alone. Finally, shift your mindset. Essentials aren't a cage, they're the foundation for your financial freedom. Every dollar saved and redirected toward growth becomes a soldier working quietly for you, compounding over time. By being intentional with essentials, you create more financial freedom, more flexibility, and ultimately, faster wealth growth. Here's your action plan for today. Review all your essentials for the past 3 months, identify at least 5 areas where you can save, whether it's housing, transportation, food, subscriptions, or utilities, then funnel those savings straight into your growth bucket. Automate the allocations, resist lifestyle inflation, and watch compounding take your wealth to the next level. By optimizing your essentials, you're not just budgeting your We've explored the power of compounding, why most people fail at building wealth, and how to make your growth bucket explode. Now, it's time to talk about the part that most people groan about, the 60% of your income that goes to essentials: bills, rent, groceries, and other necessary expenses. Here's the thing. Optimizing essentials doesn't mean living like a monk or cutting out everything fun. It's about being strategic. Small, intentional changes can free up more money to put into your growth bucket, which is where compounding really does its magic. The first step is simple. Know where your money is going. Most people have no idea how much they spend on small recurring expenses like subscriptions, daily coffee runs, or food delivery. Go through your bank statements for the last 3 months and categorize everything. Rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, subscriptions, and miscellaneous spending. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Could I find a cheaper alternative? Could I combine services or cut back slightly? Even saving $50 to $100 a month might not seem huge, but over a year, that's $600 to $1,200 more going directly into your growth bucket. That's the power of optimization, small changes leading to a massive long-term impact. Housing is often the largest part of your essentials, so it makes sense to manage it carefully. Negotiating your rent or refinancing a mortgage can save you thousands over time. Many landlords are willing to discuss reasonable adjustments, and lower interest rates on mortgages can reduce monthly payments significantly. Downsizing your living space might feel like a sacrifice, but it can free up a substantial chunk of cash for investing. Some people even house hack by renting out a room or part of their home to generate extra income, and that money can go straight into the growth bucket. These strategic adjustments create more room for compounding to work its magic over time. Transportation is another expense that often eats up more money than we realize. Switching to public transport or ride-sharing, buying a used car instead of a new one, carpooling, or even biking when possible can all save hundreds per month. These small savings, when redirected to your growth bucket, can compound into significant wealth over the years. Food is essential, but it doesn't have to be a budget killer. Cooking at home, meal prepping, shopping smartly, and limiting restaurant meals can save hundreds per month without compromising nutrition or enjoyment. Small adjustments in grocery spending can be redirected into investments, which will grow over time thanks to compounding. Then there are subscriptions and recurring expenses that quietly drain your wallet. Many people have dozens of subscriptions they barely use: streaming services, apps, software, gym memberships. Take a hard look and cancel anything unnecessary or share plans where possible. Even $10 to $30 saved per month may seem minor, but over decades of compounding, it adds up to thousands of dollars. Utilities are another area where small, consistent changes make a difference. Switching to energy-efficient lighting and appliances, setting your thermostat strategically, and being mindful of water usage can shave a little off your monthly bills. These reductions might seem small, but each dollar you save is a dollar you can invest for growth, and over time, that grows exponentially. One of the biggest hidden wealth killers is lifestyle inflation. When your income rises, it's easy to increase spending proportionally or even more than your income grows. The top 1% do the opposite. As their income rises, they increase contributions to their growth bucket first while keeping essentials relatively stable. For example, if your income goes from $3,000 to $4,000 per month, instead of spending that extra $1,000 on lifestyle upgrades, you could direct $700 to investments and only $300 to essentials. Over decades, this approach compounds into significant wealth. Think of essentials optimization as creating a savings funnel. You identify wasteful spending, trim it wherever possible, and funnel that money into your growth bucket. Over time, this funnel widens as you continue to optimize, making more money available for compounding without even needing to earn more. Automation is key. Once you've figured out how much you actually need for essentials, set up automatic transfers so that 30% goes to your growth bucket and 10% to your freedom bucket. This way, your finances work for you automatically without relying on discipline alone. Finally, shift your mindset. Essentials aren't a cage, they're the foundation for your financial freedom. Every dollar saved and redirected toward growth becomes a soldier working quietly for you, compounding over time. By being intentional with essentials, you create more financial freedom, more flexibility, and ultimately, faster wealth growth. Here's your action plan for today. Review all your essentials for the past 3 months. Identify at least 5 areas where you can save, whether it's housing, transportation, food, subscriptions, or utilities. Then funnel those savings straight into your growth bucket. Automate the allocations, resist lifestyle inflation, and watch compounding take your wealth to the next level. By optimizing your essentials, you're not just budgeting, you're unlocking the hidden potential in the 60% of your income, multiplying your growth bucket, and accelerating the compounding engine that builds lasting wealth. You've learned about the power of compounding, how to make your growth bucket grow, and even how to optimize your essentials. Now it's time to explore a part of the 60%, 30%, 10% system that most people overlook but which is absolutely crucial for long-term success: the 10% freedom bucket. Most people think budgeting is all about sacrifice, but that mindset is a trap. If your finances feel like a prison, it's impossible to stick with them for years or decades. That's where the freedom bucket comes in. It's 10% of your income dedicated to personal enjoyment, hobbies, learning, and experiences. It's money you can spend guilt-free, knowing the rest of your system, your essentials and growth are already covered. Why is this so important? Because psychology matters. The human brain resists sacrifice. We crave instant gratification. If you try to cut every little expense to funnel 100% into growth, you'll burn out, rebel, or binge spend. A freedom bucket gives your brain a reward system, keeping you motivated to stick with the plan. Think of it as a financial morale boost. So how do you use the freedom bucket wisely? First, treat it as a tool for investing in yourself. This doesn't just mean splurging on material things. It could be learning a new skill, taking a course, attending a workshop, or even buying books that expand your knowledge. When you invest in yourself, your future earning potential grows, and that growth often compounds just like money in your investment account. Next, use part of it for experiences that make life enjoyable. Travel, hobbies, or even dining out occasionally falls into this category. These small joys are essential because they make sticking to your system sustainable. You're not living in a constant state of deprivation. You're living intentionally. It's also important to set boundaries for the freedom bucket. 10% is all you get, no dipping into your growth or essentials. This creates discipline while still giving you flexibility. Think of it like a sandbox. You can play freely, but the rest of your system remains intact. Another way to leverage your freedom bucket is by using it as a creativity and productivity booster. Many people underestimate how much having a little extra fun money can improve their mindset. When you know you have resources to enjoy life, you're more likely to stick to your long-term financial plan without resentment. Stress decreases and motivation increases. Here's an example. Let's say you earn $3,000 per month. Following the 60%, 30%, 10% rule, $1,800 goes to essentials, $900 goes to growth, and $300 goes to freedom. That $300 can be used in a way that makes you happier, more productive, or healthier, like paying for a gym membership, music lessons, or a small weekend getaway. These aren't expenses, they're investments in your long term. We've covered the 60%, 30%, 10% system in depth. Essentials, growth, and freedom. You now know how to optimize your essentials, make your growth bucket explode, and use your freedom bucket strategically. But understanding each bucket individually isn't enough. The real power comes from combining them into a seamless, disciplined system that lets compounding work at its fullest. Think of the three buckets as parts of an engine. Each has a role. The essentials bucket provides stability, the growth bucket generates power, and the freedom bucket fuels motivation. If one part is weak, the engine doesn't perform at its best. But when all three work together, you create a machine that quietly builds wealth over time without stress, without sacrifice, and without guesswork. Let's talk about how to integrate the buckets effectively. First, your essentials bucket sets the foundation. This is where discipline matters most. By knowing exactly how much you need for necessities, you eliminate overspending and prevent financial leaks. Every dollar you save here becomes extra fuel for the growth bucket. Optimizing essentials is not about cutting corners, it's about creating room for growth. Next, your growth bucket is the powerhouse. Here is where compounding truly shines. By consistently allocating 30% of your income into investments, retirement accounts, or other growth vehicles, you let time and interest do the heavy lifting. But it only works if the other buckets are structured correctly. If your essentials are unoptimized or you overspend out of your freedom bucket, you're starving the growth engine. That's where the freedom bucket comes in, not just as a luxury, but as a discipline enhancer. When you know 10% of your income is dedicated to enjoyment or personal growth, you maintain motivation and avoid burnout. It's the psychological balance that allows you to stick with the system month after month, year after year. Without it, you're likely to rebel and undo progress. Here's how a month of integrated budgeting looks in practice. Let's say you earn $4,000. Using the 60%, 30%, 10% system, $400 goes to essentials. This covers rent, groceries, transportation, bills, and a few optimized discretionary items. $1,200 goes to growth. This could include monthly contributions to an index fund, retirement account, or other low-risk investments. $400 goes to freedom. This money is used for hobbies, personal development, or small indulgences that keep you motivated. Now imagine repeating this month after month, year after year. Compounding starts quietly multiplying the growth bucket while your freedom bucket keeps you psychologically committed. Your optimized essentials ensure no money leaks, and your financial system becomes self-sustaining. Point one of the most powerful aspects of combining the buckets is momentum. When each bucket is working as intended, money flows seamlessly from your income into the areas that build wealth, while still allowing you to enjoy life. Over time, even modest investments grow into substantial sums, and small optimizations in essentials amplify the results exponentially. Another key principle is automation. When your buckets are integrated, it's easier to automate transfers. Set up your bank account so that 60% automatically covers essentials, 30% goes into your growth investments, and 10% is reserved for freedom spending. Automation removes human error and temptation, making the system almost effortless to maintain. The top 1% rely heavily on automation, not because they're lazy but because it ensures consistency over decades, which is the real secret behind compounding. It's also important to monitor and adjust your buckets over time. Life changes, incomes increase, expenses fluctuate. By reviewing your allocations every few months, you ensure the system continues working optimally. If your income rises, you can increase contributions to your growth bucket while keeping essentials in check and freedom proportional. Small tweaks like this accelerate compounding without adding stress. A practical mindset tip: see your money as a team of employees. Essentials employees handle stability, growth employees work tirelessly to generate wealth, and freedom employees maintain morale. Each has a job, and if any one group slacks off, the team underperforms. By keeping all three groups aligned, you create a financial system that works while you sleep, travel, and live your life. Now let's talk about long-term compounding. Suppose your growth bucket grows at an average annual return of 7%. Even if you start small, say $500 per month, over 20 years you could see over $200,000. Start earlier, increase contributions gradually, and reinvest dividends, and that number can easily exceed $500,000. The key is that your entire system supports this growth. Optimized essentials free up more contributions, and your freedom bucket ensures you never give up. The beauty of integrating all three buckets is that it turns wealth building into a habit, not a chore. You don't have to think about every decision daily, the system guides your money automatically. It also reduces stress, because your essentials are covered, your growth is consistent, and you still get to enjoy life. Here's your action plan for. Review your current spending and ensure your 60%, 30%, 10% allocations are realistic and optimized. Automate transfers to each bucket to ensure discipline and consistency. Optimize essentials to free up more for growth. Use your freedom bucket intentionally for enjoyment and personal development. Monitor quarterly and adjust contributions as your income or expenses change. Reinvest all earnings in your growth bucket to maximize compounding. By combining all three buckets effectively, you're creating a self-sustaining financial engine. Essentials provide stability, growth generates wealth, and freedom maintains motivation. Compounding works best when all three are in harmony. The takeaway from simple but powerful: wealth is not just about earning more, it's about building a system that lets your money grow automatically over time. When your buckets are aligned and disciplined, compounding doesn't just work, it accelerates, quietly building financial freedom for decades to come. 60%, 30%, 10% system is running like a well-oiled machine. Essentials are optimized, your growth bucket is steadily compounding, and your freedom bucket keeps motivation high. But what if you could supercharge your growth bucket and accelerate the compounding effect even faster? That's what we'll cover in this act. The truth is, while the basics, low-cost index funds, retirement accounts, and consistent investing are enough to build wealth over time, there are strategies the top 1% use to multiply results. The key is doing this wisely, without unnecessary risk, so your money works harder while still staying safe. Increase contributions gradually. One of the simplest ways to boost your growth bucket is to increase your contributions over time. Even a 1 to 2% annual increase in your growth contributions can make a huge difference over 10, 20, or 30 years. For example, if you start with $500 per month and increase it by 2% each year, your total invested amount and compounding gains grow significantly more than keeping contributions flat. The top 1% often use this method without even noticing. It's called paycheck-driven compounding. As their income grows, they automatically divert the extra money into investments rather than lifestyle upgrades. This creates a snowball effect where compounding accelerates without additional effort. Explore multiple investment vehicles. While index funds and retirement accounts are the backbone, diversifying into other growth opportunities can add layers of compounding. Dividend stocks. These provide regular income that can be reinvested. Reinvested dividends accelerate compounding. Real estate investments. Rental income can flow directly into your growth bucket, and property appreciation adds long-term gains. Peer-to-peer lending or other vetted passive income streams. Small, calculated allocations can generate additional returns without tying up all your money. The key is balance. Don't chase every shiny investment. Start with a strong foundation and carefully add complementary assets that compound over time. Reinvest everything. This is a fundamental principle often overlooked. Never take gains out of your growth bucket unless absolutely necessary. Reinvest dividends, interest, rental income, and other earnings. By doing this, each new dollar earned starts working immediately, creating a snowball effect of compounding on compounding. Think of it like planting trees. If you harvest the fruit and spend it immediately, the orchard grows slowly. If you plant every seed, your orchard multiplies exponentially. Reinvesting earnings is the fastest way to grow your financial forest. Leverage side hustles or micro-income streams. One of the top strategies for supercharging the growth bucket is leveraging additional income sources. This doesn't mean quitting your job. It means intentionally creating side hustles, freelance work, or small business ventures. Why is this powerful? Because extra income can be directed entirely into the growth bucket, accelerating compounding without affecting your essentials or freedom budgets. For example, freelance writing, design, or consulting. E-commerce or dropshipping ventures. Selling digital products, courses, or apps. Even $200 to $500 per month from a side hustle, invested consistently, can grow to tens of thousands over decades. And because this money doesn't reduce your essentials, it's pure growth. Maximize tax advantages. Taxes can eat away at your growth if you're not careful. Using tax-advantaged accounts like 401k, IRAs, Roth IRAs, or even certain real estate strategies can dramatically increase compounding power. Why? Because your money grows faster when it's not reduced by taxes every year. Many high-income individuals also use strategies like capital gains optimization or tax loss harvesting to maximize net returns, keeping more money working in the growth bucket. Learning the basics of these strategies can make a massive long-term difference. Keep risk managed. Supercharging growth doesn't mean taking reckless risks. High-risk bets can destroy compounding faster than anything else. The top 1% understand that steady, consistent growth over time beats short-term speculation. Diversify your investments and avoid putting too much into volatile or unproven assets. Your goal is predictable, compounding growth. High-risk plays might feel exciting, but compounding favors consistency and longevity, not adrenaline. Automate everything. At this stage, automation is more important than ever. Automatic transfers to your growth bucket, reinvestments, and even directing extra income from side hustles ensure compounding happens without requiring constant attention. Automation removes the human element: temptation, procrastination, and forgetfulness, so your money works continuously. Monitor progress, adjust strategically. Supercharging growth doesn't mean being reckless. Periodically review your portfolio and income streams. Are your side hustles contributing enough? Are your investments performing within your risk tolerance? Do adjustments need to be made based on life changes? Monitoring allows you to optimize returns without emotional decision-making, ensuring your growth bucket is always performing at its peak. Action steps 4. Increase your growth contributions gradually each year. Diversify into complementary investment vehicles: dividend stocks, real estate, or vetted passive income streams. Reinvest all earnings to maximize compounding. Leverage side hustles to add extra income directly to the growth bucket. Use tax-advantaged accounts and strategies to minimize losses. Keep risk manageable and focus on steady, predictable growth. Automate contributions and reinvestments. Monitor periodically and adjust strategically without emotional decisions. Applying these strategies, your growth bucket becomes more than a savings tool. It becomes a financial engine capable of accelerating your wealth faster than your income alone ever could. Compounding no longer works quietly in the background. It starts working aggressively, especially as side hustles, reinvested earnings, and smart investments amplify every dollar. Your financial system is starting to look powerful. Your essentials are optimized, your growth bucket is compounding month after month, and your freedom bucket keeps life enjoyable and sustainable. But now we need to talk about something just as important as growing wealth: protecting it. Building wealth is one thing. Keeping it is another. And the truth is, most people don't lose wealth because they made a bad investment. They lose it because they weren't prepared for the unexpected. A medical bill, a job loss, a car breakdown, a family emergency, or even a simple mistake can interrupt compounding in a way that takes years to recover from. Compounding only works when your financial engine keeps running consistently. If something disrupts that engine even briefly, it slows everything down. That's all about defense, the part of wealth building that no one glamorizes, but everyone who's truly wealthy takes very seriously. Let's break it down. Your first line of defense, the emergency buffer. Before you invest, before you scale side hustles, before you chase higher returns, you need a safety cushion that protects you from life's unpredictable moments. This is your emergency fund, your financial seatbelt. You don't need a huge amount all at once. Start with 1 month of essentials, then build to 3 months. Eventually, aim for 6 months if possible. The reason is simple. When an emergency hits, you don't want to pull money out of your growth bucket. Every time you withdraw from investments, you're not just losing the amount you take out, you're losing decades of future compounding that money could have created. An emergency fund protects your investments from being disturbed. It also protects your mental clarity. When life happens, you don't panic. You act with strategy. That is the difference between someone who survives financially and someone who grows financially. Insurance, the scalable safety net. The wealthy almost always have one thing in common. They use insurance strategically. It's not about fear, it's about risk transfer. You pay a small premium so that a massive unexpected event doesn't destroy your finances. Here's what matters most. Health insurance. One hospital bill can wipe out years of savings. Auto insurance, especially if your car is essential for work. Home or renter's insurance, protects your biggest living asset. Life insurance, if you have dependents, this is about protection, not investment. Income protection or disability insurance. Many people forget this one, but losing your ability to earn money even temporarily is one of the biggest threats to compounding. Insurance isn't exciting, but that's the point. You're not buying excitement, you're buying certainty, stability, and protection for your compounding engine. Building financial firewalls. Wealthy people build layers of protection not because they're paranoid, but because they understand math. The more layers you have, the harder it is for disaster to reach your core wealth. A financial firewall can be a fully funded emergency fund. Insurance, a backup source of income. A credit line or buffer. Not living paycheck to paycheck. Avoiding high-interest debt. Each of these acts like a shield. When one shield breaks, the next one catches the blow. This layered approach ensures your investments remain untouched, allowing compounding to work uninterrupted. Reducing high-interest debt, the silent wealth killer. One of the biggest threats to wealth is high-interest debt. Credit cards, payday loans, high-interest financing, these are compounding in reverse. Imagine your growth bucket working at 7 to 10% annually, but your debt is growing at 18 to 30%. Even if your investments are growing, the debt is eating your progress faster. The wealthy follow a simple rule. Step 1, stop the bleeding. Step 2, start the healing. This means paying down high-interest debt aggressively, strategically, and without delay. Every dollar you eliminate from debt is a dollar that no longer compounds against you and eventually can be redirected into your growth bucket. Mental protection. Avoiding emotional spending and panic decisions. Protecting wealth isn't only about money. It's also about mindset. People often lose more wealth through emotional decisions than financial ones. Panic selling during market dips. Impulse spending from stress. Overreacting to temporary setbacks. Believing every hot tip. Investing based on hype instead of strategy. Your mind is part of your wealth protection system. Staying calm, informed, and consistent prevents you from sabotaging your own compounding. The wealthy don't chase every trend. They don't panic when the market dips. They follow their plan. They trust the process. And because of that, compounding works for them even when the world feels unstable. The backup income strategy. If insurance protects you from sudden damage, a backup income stream protects you from long-term disruption. Side hustles, freelance skills, or passive income streams serve as financial airbags. If you lose your primary income, you still have cash flow to cover essentials without touching your growth bucket. Think of it this way. If your main job supports your life, your side income supports your compounding. Even a small backup income can prevent an emergency from becoming a financial disaster. Don't overexpose yourself. Another part of protection is not putting too much money into high-risk assets. No matter how promising something looks, crypto, stocks, real estate flips, new ventures, the wealthy follow one truth. Never risk what you can't afford to lose. Growth is important, but survival is more important. If a single bad investment can ruin your finances, the risk is too high, no matter how attractive the opportunity appears. Your compounding must be stable, predictable, and protected. The time you reach this stage, something profound happens. You're no longer just someone trying to manage money. You've become someone who understands it, directs it, multiplies it, and most importantly controls it instead of letting it control you. This is the phase where you step into the mindset of the top 1%, not because of your bank balance but because of your habits, your discipline, and the way you think about wealth. See, the advanced level isn't about having millions. It's about having clarity. It's about knowing exactly where your money goes, why it goes there, and what it brings back to you. It's about removing emotion from financial decisions and replacing it with strategy. It's about treating every dollar like a tiny employee, giving it a job, a mission, and a purpose. At this stage you stop asking questions like, how much can I save? And start asking, how can I build systems that make saving automatic? You stop chasing high returns and begin focusing on consistent returns. You stop looking for shortcuts and instead build pipelines that deliver results every single year without relying on luck, hype, or timing the market. Most people will never reach this level because it requires something rare: responsibility. Real responsibility. The responsibility of knowing that your future, your income, and your freedom are shaped by your choices, not your circumstances. You are no longer reacting to life. You're designing it. This is where you start creating multiple streams of income, not because it sounds impressive, but because you understand the power of not depending on just one source. You begin treating your time as your most valuable asset because you finally understand that money lost can be regained, but time lost is gone forever. You learn to say no more often because every no protects the yes that truly matters. And the deeper you go into this mindset, the more you realize something the wealthy have always known: wealth isn't loud. It's quiet. Quiet discipline. Quiet investments. Quiet compounding. Quiet decisions that look boring on the outside but build empires over decades. You value privacy over flexing. Freedom over status. Security over appearance. You understand that real wealth is when your lifestyle doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. And that's when you become dangerous in the best possible way. Because now you're playing a game most people don't even know exists. At this level, you start building for the future you've always imagined, not the present you're stuck in. You're no longer trying to escape your life and you're reshaping it. You're no longer overwhelmed by money, you're using money to remove overwhelm from your life. You're not hustling blindly, you're moving with intention. And here's the real beauty of it all. Once you reach this level, every part of your life gets better. Not because money solves everything but because financial control removes the distractions that keep most people stuck. You gain mental clarity. You gain time. You gain confidence. You gain power. You become the kind of person who inspires others without even trying. The kind of person who builds generational wealth quietly. The kind of person who looks back one day and realizes, you didn't just change your bank account. You changed your life. So as this video ends, your journey doesn't. Because if you've made it to this point, you're already operating on a different wavelength. You're thinking differently. You're planning differently. You're becoming someone your future self will thank you for. And one day when you're standing on your version of success, whatever that looks like, you'll realize it wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It wasn't timing. It was you. Your discipline. Your choices. Your consistency. Your belief.